One thing I did here, being at the ARIC conference, the Australian Real Estate Conference last week, was in a speaker by the name of James Clear, and he wrote a book about atomic habits. Really interesting. One thing he did say in creating those habits was, if you wanted to go to the gym, as an example, one day you put on your active wear, and then you that's all you do. The next day, you get your keys, walk out the door, walk straight back in the door. The next day, you drive down to the gym, sit in the car. The next day, you go in the gym for 2 minutes. And that slowly creates that habit. And improves on that habit.
It's horses for courses, right? So if that works for some people, and again, go back to the example that I said with the lady who has a 1 week goal. I've got clients who've got 5 year goals.
That's a perfect example of someone who's got a 1 week goal that needs to crawl, like you said, before they actually walk. You know, someone that's highly motivated can maybe step up, 5 steps ahead of that and get straight into it and then improve on that each and every day.
Yeah, correct. And that's my job to know through questioning, through seeing people's non-verbals when I say things. That's my job to know whether someone's prepared to do or could do a 5 year goal, or whether for them 5 years is a bridge too far. And you know what, let's bring that back to, let's start to build some confidence, right? And so using your example from James Clear, that's called build momentum. And it's called just slowly start and build momentum to the point where then your snowball gets bigger and bigger. And then in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, you've got this thing that's then it's got motion, right? It's hard to, you see these, the strong men, right? These strong men, and it's hard to, sort of when they pull those trucks, right? They've got the chains, and the first few steps, they're small steps, and it's hard, and they're grunting and groaning and carrying on. But then when the truck starts to get momentum, how much easier, I'm not saying it's easy, but how much easier does it look once that truck has momentum? So for people, it's just about it's self-awareness. Luke, I haven't mentioned Gary Vee yet. How far in are we, mate?
I did already.
I know you did, but I didn't. I've been very I've been restrained in that regard. But it's about self-awareness, and just recognise that if setting something too far into the future is a bridge too far, if you just can't comprehend, if you can't join the dots between there and now, that's okay. Bring the future in to a place where you can actually start to go, you know what, I can do a week's worth of activity. Do a week's worth of activity. Then the other thing is, I listened to something you said recently, and you were talking about the importance of positive reinforcement. So do a week's worth of activity, celebrate. Now, when I say celebrate, I don't mean do a week's of activity and then go to the Bahamas. I mean, do a week's worth of activity and go to your favourite coffee shop. Spend $4 on your favourite coffee, and as you're sipping on your coffee, reflect on the fact that I'm having this coffee now because of what I did over the last week, and how good do I feel. So it doesn't need to be this big reward, it just needs to be something to go, fantastic. And then it's about recharging, reloading, and going again. Perhaps you're ready to go for 2 weeks, perhaps you just want to go for another week. It doesn't matter, right? There's no rules to this, as in the length of time. It's just about building momentum, and wherever you're at, here's the thing, that's where you're at. And wherever you're at, we just work on a program to help get you moving forward, because ultimately that's what my job is. My job is to get people to move forward. Some deal with things very differently to others, and that's cool. We just flex the message and the activities accordingly.
Tony, when we're talking about the whole idea of goals and so forth, there might be some people out there that don't really know what they really want. That's a big thing. I've worked on vision boards and really trying to tap into myself personally about looking at this. I always go back to, yes, I want to experience more in life, but there's no end goal or end target. And if we take it back to Gary Vee as an example, he's looking to buy the jets, but he wants to enjoy the journey of buying the jets, not necessarily getting to buy the New York Jets football team. So what would you say to me in terms of I guess constantly wanting more experiences, more choice, doing more property deals, meeting with more people? It's the experience for me in life.
But they're goals, Luke. So that's your goal. So if your goal is to have more experiences, What do those experiences look like? If your goal is to do more property deals, what do those property deals look like? How many more do you want? Does that make sense? So that's your goals. If that's what's important to you, then it's
Yeah.
about just fleshing those out for you. This is not about this is about getting people to. It's within us, right? It's all within us. It's about bringing it out to the surface. But for you, what does when you talk about lifestyle and have a better lifestyle, what does that look like? Because a better lifestyle is about that wide. Right? And it's just about starting to think about what does a better lifestyle look like? Does it mean that you want to have annual holidays overseas? Does it mean that you want the choice to be able to spend your days as you want? Does it mean that you want to go and buy 4 new properties, a year? Whatever it might be, it's about just taking those, but then applying some specificity to it around what does that look like for you? Because if you say more, I get it. But it just you need to just bring that in a little tighter
Yeah,
to that.
like for me, it is flaky. Like I agree. Like it's not something that I have a vision of something, and that's why I kind of like, well, what is it for me? Like, what am I really passionate about going towards?
So I'd give you a really great exercise that I get a lot of people to go through. It's called Ikigai, and it's spelled Ikigai, and it's Japanese, and it stands for reason for being. And what it is, it's 4 intersecting circles. I've done a few videos on this on my YouTube page if anyone's interested, or just Google it up. There's far more experienced people than me who are out there explaining it, but Ikigai is reason for being. And what it is, it's 4 intersecting circles. And the four intersecting circles are: what do you love? What are you good at? What does the world need? And what can you get paid for? And so if you imagine you've got each of those circles are intersecting, and in the middle where they intersect, that's your Ikigai. And so you can't have just 2 of those, right? So you can't have something that you're good at and something you get paid for, because that's called a job, right? Because we don't love it. You know what I mean? Or you can't have something that you love and the world needs, because that's called the mission, but you need money to, provide, and food and all those sorts of things. So the idea is that you have all 4 intersecting circles. Sorry, the point of intersection. That's a reason for being. What I do with people is I say, well, let's just rule up 4 columns. Same headings, but in 4 columns. And just work through and be granular. So when you say, what do I love? Don't just say, I love property, because property is that wide, right? So it's like, what do you love about property? What are the things that excite you about property? And then just keep breaking down. Hey, I love meeting new people, or hey, I love helping, young people get into their first home, or whatever it might be, and you keep working that down, and then you go into the column that says, what am I good at? So there'll be some things that you love doing that you mightn't be good at. For example, I used to love playing football, wasn't very good at it, and so hence, wasn't able to make a career of it, but I loved it, right? So then there's things that you're good at, and there'll be things that you're good at that you may not love. So, for example, there's a number of things in my job that I was very good at, but it didn't fulfill me. And then it's about what does the world need. So that's all around what is it that people want. And then the last one is around, can I actually commercialize this? Can I make a living? You don't need to go and be rich, but can I make a living out of doing these things? And so you just sit with it. And I quite often find that when people grab a pen and they just put a pen on paper, don't type it, don't put it into a phone. The old-fashioned, grab a pen, grab a piece of paper and write. And what that does from a psychological point of view is it helps with creativity. And even if you're stuck, if you just start to write the word BLAH, like blah, blah, just write something, just write letters, right? What'll happen is at some stage, you're going to kick in, your creativity is going to kick in, and you're going to be writing, you're going to be in a bit of a rhythm, but write stuff down. The other thing too, and you touched on expectations before, don't expect to work out what you're meant to be doing within 10 minutes of starting, right? So people can go through their whole life and not actually figure this stuff out. And I'm not saying that to scare people, I'm saying that to manage your expectations. And even if you get to a point, it's like, well, that at this stage, that feels good enough, and I'm going to keep progressing with that, and I'm going to then be open to changing along the way. So if I think about my story, so I wanted to be a property developer, right? I want to be a property developer. Come hell or high water, I was going to be a property developer. And what I learned along the way is that I like it, but I don't love it. I don't love knocking down trees, fighting with council, delays, issues with contractors, et cetera, et cetera. I don't love that. I don't get inspired to do that. But what I learned about myself is that I love helping people, and being a manager of large teams, I love being able to help people, I love being able to coach people. And so it dawned on me that I was meant to be a coach. And then even in my journey, I started off wanting to be the life coach to everyone in the whole world, which is not a very narrow focus. But I've worked out that my real strength is in business. My real strength is I've got 25 years worth of business experience. But the added benefit for me is that I'm able to, sprinkle some magic fairy dust of, life coaching in over the top to help people get out of their own way. So my own little mantra for my business is mind first, then strategy. So let's get the mind first, then the strategy. A lot of other business coaches will go in and plow right into strategy, but if someone's not in the right headspace, then what does it really matter? Whereas I'd rather go the other way. And so let's just get the mind right. Now, once we've got that right, now let's apply the various strategies that are required. Sorry, mate, I went off on that 76 tangents then. So
that's perfect.